In 2014, something happened that all of a sudden I was crippled by fear, anxiety, and obsessive thoughts. I remember situations where I'd be driving in the car with my wife Kelly. It would just be silent for, the whole period because all I could do was think and think and think. I remember being in rooms with friends playing board games or just hanging out and having to walk away and go to the toilet and close the door because I had these crazy ruminating thoughts that were just causing so much fear in my life. These thoughts were so intense, they sort of cut me to my core. They made me question my relationship with God and made me think, am I even loved? Am I even saved? And these thoughts, they would never leave, and it would just keep going and going and going, and it caused so much anxiety in me. It caused depression. And the crazy thing about these type of things is you go through the full spectrum of emotions. A lot of the time I was sad, but most of the time I was almost just numb. I didn't know what to do, and I thought I was losing my mind. And I spoke to my wife, and I spoke to my parents, and that is actually the first step of recovery that I took. I went to the psychiatrist and the psychologist, and they diagnosed me, and they said to me that what I was going through was something I'd have to live with for the rest of my life. And when I heard that, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And so where I was struggling in faith, one of the people that was able to hold me up and stand in proxy with me was my wife, and she was able to remind me that God is bigger. And where I felt hopeless, she remained hopeful. And so what she did was, while I couldn't actually even physically read the Bible, she'd be putting biblical truths into me by just reminding me of promises in very simple language. My dad, he would send messages to me with Bible verses, this promise of God that said, you are the apple of God's eye. It gave me a flicker of hope. A flicker of hope that if I have a Father in heaven who loves me, I can't do anything to separate myself from that love. Then I know that my loving Father wants me to be well, and if He wants me to be well, He can do it, and if He can do it, He wants to do it, and He will do it. And I held into that hope. I can get better. It was not an overnight thing. One part of that healing journey was speaking to medical professionals, and I'm so thankful that I was able to speak with a psychologist and voice things out. Another step was, on some level, the medication. A third thing, I kept reminding myself through my wife and through my parents and through various other people who loved me and were around me for this, that there was hope to get out of this. I started finding my mind was slowing down to a normal pace and was not racing all the time. Very slowly and very carefully, and I will emphasize that this was through the advice of medical professionals. They started taking me off of my medication. And as I came off, I still found myself getting better. And as I started getting better, I started having faith rise up in me because I could see and I could feel God doing something in me that was superseding the medication. And I remember being in this moment and thinking to myself, I feel happy. And I hadn't felt that feeling for years. And I looked back and I realized something had changed. But something had changed permanently in my brain. I was given an earthly diagnosis because by every earthly standard, I was incurable and I would have to live with my mental health struggles for the rest of my life. But the truth is that I believe and I serve a God that is so much bigger than any earthly diagnosis, that He has completely healed me. I know that whatever comes my way, I have God by my side, and I'm not going back to that place where I once was. And that excites me.